Russia's infamous, elite, supposedly state-backed mercenary group Wagner is heading back home after almost 4 years in Mali, West Africa. Mali is currently under relatively stable now military rule, supported by the Wagner group, headed by Colonel Assimi Goita. He, along with General Abdurrahman Tiani and Captain Ibrahim Traore, currently make up the three-nation alliance of the Sahel states. Where's my tissue? Why does my nose get so itchy? Why does my nose get so itchy? I feel like President Macron. Damn. Anyway, Russia will be shifting into supporting the Malian government in ruling rather than directly fighting, which means their deadly Wagner troops, elite Russian soldiers that are paid big bucks and are deployed sparingly by Russia in key locations and at critical junctures, well, they are now free for something else. What else? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. There's strong suggestions from a variety of sources that the Wagner mercenaries may be deployed now in the coming months to help the main Russian forces in the continued fight in eastern Ukraine. With ramped-up offensive campaigns across the front lines extended into Sumy and Kharkiv, as well as the DLZK front, the Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson front, and potentially Wagner elite forces brought in to loosen Ukrainian strongpoints might be their next mission. Those in Kiev are likely very worried of what's to come. Or perhaps actually, they don't care at all. There's a number of different theories as to why Zelensky is not even coming to the negotiating table with a reasonable head on his shoulders. His demands and his refusal of Russian demands do not align with the reality on the ground geopolitically. It aligns with blind pro-Ukrainian activists who don't care about reality. They just talk about what should happen, what they want to happen, which is not how states negotiate when it comes to such great impactful decision making. States don't talk about should they talk about what's practical, what's realistic. And Zelensky, none of that, just jokes from his former comedian days. Anyway, the reality on the ground, Zelensky doesn't seem aligned. Capabilities of his own forces not aligned, or the money in his coffers, or the allies by his side. The reality is slipping, much like the ground that lies beneath his boots. It's slipping into Russian hands. The capability of his own forces are diminishing, as are the number of Ukrainian men in existence. Literally, there's not men left in Ukraine. By the way, someone calls me a sort of Russian propagandist. I'm not pro-Russian. I don't live in Russia. I'm not ethnically Russian. I don't get paid by Putin. I don't go to, the Kremlin and get some, rubles to weigh down my purse. I don't even have a purse. I have a wallet. I'm a man. No, this is just facts and this is just analysis. If you're too busy, if you've been too immersed in Western propaganda and you've been drinking that Western Kool-Aid, I understand. No judgment here. I'm not confrontational. I understand that what I'm saying comes across as a bit much, but hold on. Bear with me, okay? I present the facts to you. Now, many Ukrainian men, like I was saying, they have dodged the draft. They've dodged being conscripted. They've fled the country where possible. Look this up. I'm not making it up, okay? There's no lie here. Whereas alternatives, they lie. And they put extreme spin on things. Well, I'm just giving you the facts in an analytical capacity. I'm not pro-Russian. What do I benefit from being pro-Russian? Let's carry on. Poland now plays host to over 1 million Ukrainian refugees. Fact, right? And Poland's not happy. Right? And why are the Ukrainians there? Why are the refugees there? Well, they left their country. The one at war? The one that's losing territory? Right? Zelensky's coffers, now, talking about the money, they've never been emptier. He rules a country losing a war, which means there's very little investment, if any. 20% of the territory is occupied and likely never to be handed back. And those 20% have the mineral deposits. Look at a map of Ukrainian minerals. Type in on Google, map of Ukrainian minerals. And all of it, almost all of it, is in that little strip that Russia now holds. So, money-wise, he's messed up. Anyway. His allies. Let's turn to the final point. The biggest of them has been slowly shuffling backwards and is unlikely to help in any further meaningful way moving forward. And the rest of his allies in Western Europe provide supporting words, but not in action, and certainly not with troops on the ground, God forbid. Because as loud as they may sing in praise of Ukraine and sing in support, they know the Russian bear growls louder. There is distinct shift by Russia, it has to be said. They continue their attritional war stance, yes, but it seems like coordinated movements across the front line has seen an uptick, and more efficient, less costly advancement strategies with AI and fiber optic high-altitude swarm-deployed drones are allowing Russia to take more land with fewer losses. In Sumy, the new front in northeast Ukraine, at the time of this recording, Russia has taken over 150 square kilometers of Sumy Oblast territory in Ukraine, with no signs of slowing down. What is that? Am I being pro-Russian for saying that there's 150 square kilometers of Ukraine in Sumy that are now in Russian hands? That's a fact. Fight me. Don't fight me. I'm not very aggressive, and I don't know any kung fu or jiu-jitsu or kickboxing. I wish I did. Indeed, a summer campaign where the noose begins tightening once again around the Ukrainian neck, slowly but surely, slowly for sure, yeah, but surely, which I forecast 3 months ago, by the way. I might add, the summer campaign has begun, and I said it would begin. 3 months ago, I said they're going to start advancing again if there's no peace deal. There you go. Now they're starting advancing again. Welcome to geopolitics from my home office. Now, the Ukrainian administration looks adamant not to give up. And if Russia cannot be tempted by Ukraine into a peace, which I maintain is the most effective way to end this war, the Ukrainians have to beg the Russians or dangle something delicious in front of them and get to peace. That's the best way to end the war. If they cannot, which it looks like they're not willing to, then Ukraine is fully sacrificed. Yani, as the Arabs will say, Yani, expect this conflict not to end except with the Dnipro River separating Ukraine in the west, and potentially with a puppet government, separating Ukraine in the west from Ukraine occupied in the east. Expect Ukraine to be a portless rump state with no access to the Black Sea, and expect Russia to emerge with Odessa, Sumy, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv potentially, along with their almost guaranteed now Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk, Crimea. Right, the Donbass is gone. Donetsk basin, absolutely Russian now. In terms of control, de facto control. Okay, I'm not saying they deserve it, it's their right, blah blah blah. No, I'm just telling you the reality on the ground. It may take a while, but Russia may decide, kind of has already decided, that it's got the time for this attritional war to carry on and for the front line to keep moving forward deeper into Ukraine. All the while, NATO have essentially abandoned Ukraine. And they may move to prepare for the coming further expansion by an emboldened Russia in the next few years. They look like they're already busy doing their thing. For that, they are already fortifying Romania, Germany, the UK, France. They're already rearming. NATO's boosting its GDP percentage pledge by each country. They're talking about 2.5, 3%, 5% now that they want to spend 5% of each country's GDP on military. Huge preparations. And Ukraine, they're like, oh, Ukraine, too late for Ukraine. Like, go. Please be a speed bump for a bit longer. No matter that your sons and fathers and brothers are being slaughtered on the front line. No, go quick, be a roadblock, please. A frontline NATO state bordering Russia, Romania, is being fortified and rebuilt or built up for NATO aggressive action, potentially as the next speed bump if Russia wants to expand its sphere of influence in another wave at some point in the next few years. Follow me and check out that post where I talk about Romania in greater depth when it comes out. And for more unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin,